not going to waste any more time on the intro because y'all just keep messing with the system, so I won't get my stuff recorded. Because look, it already got 9 minutes and 38 seconds. I don't know what this means, but I'm going to go with it. So I'm going to start here. This is the legal legislation to help DHS combat homegrown terrorism and self-radicalization, approved by committee, dated Wednesday, February 10th of 2016. This is on the website of the U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs that you can find at www.hsgac.senate.gov /media /minority-media /legislation -to-help DHS combat homegrown terrorism and self radicalization approved by committee. Washington. Today, the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee approved a bill to strengthen the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, ability to combat terrorist groups' effort to recruit Americans and encourage them to carry out attacks on our soil. The bill, introduced by Ranking Member Tom Carper, Democrat from Delaware, was approved by voice vote and will now go to the full Senate for further consideration. Quote, as the recent tragedy in San Bernardino, California, underscores, one of the greatest threats we face is homegrown terrorism and self-radicalization. Said Senator Carper, this legislation would work to destroy ISIS and other terrorist groups' influence by countering their twisted message and inculcating efforts to radicalize our own people here in the United States. As we continue to degrade and destroy ISIS on the battlefield, we must also win the war of words and ideas and dispel the narrative that ISIS is on the rise. The Office for Partnerships Against Violent Extremism would reach out to communities through the country and work with local officials, faith leaders, and parents to combat terrorist groups' efforts to radicalize and recruit young Americans. Woo, wait till my feedback on that one. Specifically, S.2522 would, bullet number 1, establish the Office for Partnerships Against Violent Extremism at the Department of Homeland Security. The new office would direct the government's countering violent extremism efforts and engage local communities to help them understand and counteract radicalization and violent extremism, including hateful propaganda of ISIS. Bullet number 2, establish an Assistant Secretary for Partnerships Against Violent Extremism who will directly report to the Secretary of Homeland Security on the Department's progress towards ending the recruitment of Americans by terrorist groups. Bullet number 3, require the Department of Homeland Security Secretary to submit a strategy for countering violent extremism that includes, among other things, the Department's plans for countering the social media abilities of terrorist groups, a description of how the Department will ensure that civil rights and civil liberties are protected, and how the Department will measure the office's performance and success. And last but probably not least, require the Department of Homeland Security Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, the CRCL, to conduct an annual review to ensure the Office of Partnerships Against Violent Extremism is not abridging Americans' rights or specifically targeting any demographic. Okay, that is radio broadcast getting the word out about the truth. Look at how you put the volume down. I'm going to get it out there. This is the New American Patriot Network. I am yours truly, Dawn MJ, the One Woman Riot, as in extremely witty, broadcasting information on record of the alternate motive of why we are witnessing the things we are witnessing. They may be at Judge Scalia's funeral, but they're the ones that put him there.
Check, check, check. Oh, we're still live? Should be. Alright, so that's recording number 1. I'm going to go to the next document. This one I had downloaded and through the garbage I deal with. So it was in the download PDF thing. None of my programs are compatible. So what I've done is I just copied and pasted. But I do have the actual link to the actual page on this website. But for the sake of getting the information, like my dad says, if you're in doubt, hit the motherfucker first and then ask him the question. Statement of Ranking Member Tom Carper. We just talked about him from before. We should all be looking his name up. Tom. C as in cat, A-R-P as in Paul, E-R as in Richard. He is a senator from Delaware. This was on February 2nd. The other document I read was from the 10th. But still, this is very fresh, guys. So this is, this is all coming to a crossroads. And I am not going to be the one who sits on this when I wish I would have got a degree in journalism. Maybe I would have been better at it or been something than what we see now. I'm sorry, mainstream press. You guys lack big time. Okay, so the statement of Ranking Member Tom Carper, quote, frontline response to terrorism in America, Tuesday, February the 2nd, 2016, as prepared for delivery. I would like to thank the chairman for holding today's hearing. I would also like to thank our witnesses for being with us today to share their experiences responding to terrorist attacks and other emergencies. I would especially like to recognize Senators Baldwin and Heitkamp for proposing this important and timely hearing and also for their leadership on responder issues. Since 9/11, the federal government has worked hard to ensure that those on the front lines, our police officers, our firefighters, and emergency medical personnel are better prepared to help prevent and respond to terrorist attacks and natural disasters. For example, we have helped local officials develop response plans for mass casualty events. We have also helped train thousands of law enforcement officers. And we have helped build a network of fusion centers to deliver more timely information to our first responder. Of course, we have also provided grant funding for equipment, personnel, training, and other needs. I am pleased that the spending bill that we just passed in December contains over $1 billion in grant funding, don't have to pay that one back, to help states and localities prepare for and respond to terrorist attacks and other disasters. The recent tragedies in Paris, Boston, Chattanooga, and don't let me guess, San Bernardino, however, are a stark reminder that we must continue to remain vigilant and ensure as best we can that our first responders are ready for anything that might come their way. Heaven forbid it be a walk with God. That is why we will be paying close attention to next week's. I'm passionate. That is why we will be paying close attention next week to the President's fiscal year 2017 budget request. We need to make sure that it provides the selfless men and women who keep us safe with the resources they need to save lives and stay ahead of the threats we face as a country. Today, terrorist threats are very different from those we experienced on 9/11. Oh, I can't help but interject. I'm sorry. I was just telling Drew, a day and a half ago, I had this epiphany. I said, that's funny. If they're trying to set us up in this big old cockamamie conspiracy, San Bernardino terrorist thing, which if you just go look it up, there's plenty evidence to say that it's a false report. It is a story plant. And Drew and I just happened to be in the midst of something when it was going on, and just all the particulars about the situation. I'm like, dang, with everything else going on, do you think they're trying to, is this all leading up into a frame up that we are, they can take a bunch of separate little files and things, and then just merge them into one big case to present as a dire straits for the American people. They must go along with all of this security measures and safety measures and just, consider freedom a thing of the past. Well, yeah, because that's exactly what did happen. And as we go through it, but I'm sorry, I just can't help but say that today's terrorist threats are very different from those we experienced on 9/11. Well, yeah, 9/11, there was an actually major traumatic world will never be the same event. But when the government is targeting just single everyday little Americans based on certain unique parameters of their life and history, okay, I'm the Walking Dead girl and Drew's a robot. So what better team for God, for one, to be new creatures in Christ, but what better team for the government to systematically create and build this conspiracy theory in which to enact martial law, seize guns. That was the point. It wasn't to make Drew and I heroes, because obviously they don't even use our real names, but to merge us in this ever-building little side story. Like, they pull one thing out of one of our lives out of context and mash it in the narrative they're building, as they've been building. I mean, guys, what I'm reading, this is just from like the 10th, the 2nd. I mean, we're only on the 20th. They didn't just magically write the paper on the day they go there. This means that this stuff has been building. Oh, and don't doubt me, I can back it up. But the funny thing is, today's terrorist threats are very different from those we experienced on 9/11. Well, heck yeah. If the best that the government can do in which to take away our freedoms and oppress the American people blindly, to oppress us blindly, so that everybody comfortably slips off the edge into abyss, what more sorry example of how pathetic and how convoluted and how corrupted, and just by the mere fact that they have to concoct this big conspiracy with a boy robot and a Walking Dead girl to be ISIS extremists, homegrown, hell-bent for, murder, death, kill terrorists. Drew and I are not we're not the droids they're looking for. I can just tell you that. I mean, we can barely combat with the absolute avalanche of opposition just to prevent us from just saying, "Hi, world, we're Donna Drew, having a good time today." If you look at any of if you can get to them, who knows what you see through all of the manipulation, the channel, the filters, the blocking, the removing of things, well, it doesn't matter. If I post something on one of the social media formats they so talk about, I've got and I can tell you, I've got a whole list. I've probably got a whole freaking little black book of a full-on, full-blown enemy, terrorist, ISIS, hate America, freaking black book of names, IP postings, connections. I've got it all under my name. Just now, as I get better at what I'm doing, as they get more blatantly desperate and obvious, because the truth will come into the light, and I'm not going down without a fight. Not a freaking fight like they're fighting. No, I don't go murder Supreme Court justices because I can't get my freaking broadcast done. That's the difference. No, I would never murder one of my fellow Americans to hide my wicked, wicked secrets of how I have systematically sold off this country one piece at a time, and then try to disguise it as some kind of guilty example of capitalism or free enterprise or entrepreneurship, or that we as Americans don't have any personal responsibility or common sense. No, I don't go murder people or subject them to a targeted offense by every single governmental principality, law enforcement, anything I could throw at them, so they're bogged down in a criminal case, in a traffic ticket case. They've got another court case to go about, debris, that they're not being a proper homeowner, you name it. The reason that terrorist threats aren't the same as they were in 9/11 is because that was the beginning of their ball game. Here they're at almost the finish line, and they're desperate because it had not been for the patriots and people that are still struggling to maintain the sense of freedom, that we can see through these crooks and phonies and frauds, by the first maybe 5 sentences out of their mouth. So I go back. So today's terrorist threats are very different. Yeah, they're all constructed and built and manipulated and manufactured by the government that is going on the other channel and telling all the minds of mush and the ill-informed and the ones that never get to the truth, because we have a brain-dead, spoon-fed mainstream media that just don't care enough to get the information to you. And then the rest of it is just free for all. Oh shoot, you can try all day long. If you're not on the right circuit, if you aren't savvy on the internet now, ladies and gentlemen, you ain't never gonna be. And don't think that stupid smartphone is gonna get you there. That is the most dumbed down access to information and your fellow man. I mean, you could go talk to your fellow man face to face. But if you're looking to that so-called smartphone to tap you in, or so you think that you're using some app on that phone and that you're actually getting the information that isn't being specifically spoon-fed to you, just so you, based on your whole tracked history, because that's what they've been doing, so they know exactly what stories to spoon your way. Get you all riled up and up in arms. No, terrorist threats are very different today because they're completely man-made, fabricated, just storybook, if you didn't know whether it was a news story or an episode from your latest drama or sitcom, you guys wouldn't know the difference. Today, we unfortunately know that one or two people, not Donna Drew, with our Daisy BB gun and some killer weed from Colorado that we just got because we had worked really hard for 2.5 weeks solid, and we were that close. And I wanted to go check it out. So did Drew. On our off time, nobody had to pay for it. We paid for the gas. We made sure we were prepared in ample time. So on the day of the San Bernardino's terrorist thing, they pulled Drew and I over, okay? On a whole hinky-dinky thing. All of a sudden, I'm doing 1 mile over the speed limit in a school zone down freaking Paseo, right after Linwood. I just crossed Linwood, driving south down Paseo towards my dad's house to break him off a little something and pick up, I don't know if we're going to pick up something we got stored in the basement, TV, art supplies, I don't know, some kitchenware, just some things.
Busy.
What?
I mean, good. My dad is good visit.
Well, say hi. I mean, I'll say hi to my dad any day of the week, but, we got a lot of family drama that ain't too cool. Anyway, just picked up the new rental car. And I don't know, I want to give a shout out to Avis, thinking that they helped us give them the slip, because we both thought that we were exchanging a white one for a white one. But no, we exchanged a white one for a black one inside. And straight up, we went the opposite direction as we were supposed to be going to go to the next job site. And this is on December 2nd. So, yes, we were headed that way. But we had a couple, I know there was something relevant in stopping at my dad's. That's why we went. So anyway, the powers that be that were tracking us in a white SUV heading north, Drew and I slip out the back in a black one. Not that we intended, that was just straight up on Avis. But we slip out the garage in a black SUV going the other way. So I'm driving. I'm like going maybe 31 miles an hour, if that. Out of nowhere, after Linwood, right in that little city block there, it's got, yes, an old school building, but there's like half of Kansas City School District is shut down. We got, that's one of the last things Kansas City's got to work on. But no, don't give it to the government. We can do it just fine on our own. Anyway, it's like out of the blue, a cop comes from a parking lot, just as soon as I notice him and notice that I'm going 31 miles an hour, I look, and there's like this, all of a sudden, there's like crossing guards, like all 4 points of the intersection coming up, and it's not that far. Nobody's going that fast. They're like all sitting down, and they've got temporary like caution, little A-frame road signs you pull apart. You can stick a sign on either side of it. Well, that's what they got. Like they just made it 20 minutes ago with neon yellow, school zone, and black Sharpie marker. And whoop whoop, get pulled over. And so I'm going too fast to the school zone. I don't have my driver's license because it's pending, all wrapped up in the last 2 years of adventure. However, I do give him my passport. Drew just took a puff off our killer Colorado THC medicine that we had a prescription for from my own doctor. What are you talking about? Anyway, no, taking a puff or two. Anyway, he didn't say nothing. He was gone for a long, long, long time. We're sitting there contemplating what's going on. And I actually stopped to take a look at, the surroundings. And if we were in a school zone 1 mile above the speed limit, and I've lived in Kansas City quite some time. That's actually some of my old stomping grounds. I used to work right off Paseo, make a left on Linwood, and I worked at Linwood and Troost. And I'm sitting here thinking, I can't remember one dang time that there was actually a school zone here. And then we're looking, there's not a child, there's not a body, there's no even activity going on to the so-called school that they're referring to. There's no school buses, there's nobody crossing the streets. And then, to fact check the time, it's like almost like 5 o'clock, going on 5 or a little after 5, or like 5:30, between 4:45 and like 5:30. And I'm like, these kids are long gone. No school zone here. And then, if it's such a school zone, why do you have like 4 crossing guards? And they're all plopped down, sitting. They don't even got their stuff, they're not even up and moving. So it sort of indicated to me, just like if you go and do any research on the actual, and we're listening to the live breaking action of the San Bernardino terrorists that they're chasing down and following, and they're in a black SUV, and, we're like, this is getting really close to home, because we had our suspicions that something extracurricular was going on just with the job that Drew had, and I was a driver for. So the cop comes back. He tells Drew that he can smell the pot, and really, he's not stupid, and not to smoke it in the car, like to get to our destination, smoke it, and then he's like, well, I don't know, there's something with your driver's license, but I'm done with you. That's what he said. I even said, do you want me to get out and us change, nope. And I'm like, bye, thank you, because I'm like, oh, that's cool. Every so often you get pulled over and it goes right. Like, we were like, hey, okay, back in the game. No sweat. Be smarter. I was more mad at Drew, like, damn it, pothead. No, I'm the pothead too. But anyway, this has been a snowball ever since. There's been every little piece of the puzzle of the San Bernardino terrorists, because we went straight to jail. So that was the second. By the 4th, 5th, we were back here, extremely tired and sleepy. Major work shift report, all of that, major experiences and observations, revelations, driving through the state of Kansas both ways. Finally get back. I mean, we've literally been on the road since before Thanksgiving, like a week and a half before Thanksgiving. And so we were just glad to be home and to like do some laundry, like put our heads together. We knew that the report we submitted was pretty self-explanatory about some of the, ongoing observations of, there's a little bit more going on here than what meets the eye. And it's not a day and a half later to where we are all of a sudden incarcerated with assault charges. And I did 16 days, Drew did 30 days. So, I mean, the whole month of December was shot. And then getting into January, and they have basically thrown every bit of every little peculiar little detail that if let's just say the White House wanted to throw their weight around and get on the phone and pick on somebody, I would say if we just followed the money or the post office envelopes or the screenshots or the timelines, or if you just look at my freaking social network accounts, there's no question whatsoever that the Obama White House believes it to be above the law and does not believe in the rule of law. Which, that was just a side note, just one side note to Matt Damon, that I just got like the real post, the one that I had like went woohoo to. Because I don't know what other reading you did. But if you did that just to manipulate me, like you went in there and you read the Happy Fun Ball, New American Patriot, Constitution loving, freedom loving, capitalistic loving, speech that you gave the first time that I acknowledged, and then you did the whole bait and switch and put this other cheesy, sleazy, total opposite of what I would believe or say, and then got a big kick out of it, because it's like it goes on and on. I mean, I can just scroll. Oh, more videos along that line, Dawn. More videos along that line, and I'm not crazy, Matt Damon. I saw the other freaking video, or wouldn't have posted a comment or liked it or put you in the mix like that. I loved you already from Kevin Smith stuff. You could have stopped right there. But you specifically call out the rule of law. And you're so stupid about it. And then you're so condescending and arrogant. I know capitalism could be, everything. That's the whole thing. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is why the United States government has been built with specific checks and balances. But don't ever go for, disobedience over obedience, or whatever that whole freaking silly thing that I had to see today when, it never ends. Matt Damon, I wonder if you could handle the constant barrage of hateful, wicked, if I say blue is cool, then, It's going to be red is cooler. And with no evidence or substance or anything, it is so based on nothing at all but a mere image of what you think is reality, and they twist it and manipulate it and market it and distribute it and split it and resell it. And if it's stirred up a bunch of freaking frenzy over in this part of the internet, then they're going to go do a swap over. So all of a sudden, you've got either people thinking that somebody has lied and misrepresented the facts, or the converse, or somebody was lying when they said it, or that the person distributing it was conning, or instigating something, or the person that was, a victim who's total opposite of that, getting set up. I mean, it is so convoluted and twisted, and so twisted deep down, almost to the beginning of the internet, almost to the first websites, the first posts, the first addresses, the first any of it. It all goes back to XP, my friends. XP was ahead of its time. And I know that I had a bad to the bone computer that Patrick and I spent almost $3,000 on. It was a one of a kind. It was custom built by Gateway. There was not another one like it. And the day that we finalized and gave them the check and put the order in was on September 10th of 2001. And the future was so bright, we had to wear shades. We had so many dreams and ideas, and felt that we were, since both of us had never really got to have a computer, but we had talents that were marketable, we believed in each other, and we were going to support each other and getting in the beginning of this whole new platform, this new thing, because, I always make the joke, we used to go to the grocery store and we'd put our groceries in the sack and we'd go home and unload the groceries, and it'd be like, visit us on, online or whatever, www. And Patrick and I would look at each other, especially a grocery store, and we'd be kind of like, didn't we just visit you? What are we gonna do online? Get some virtual groceries? I've always wanted to drink some.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to buy groceries I don't know. We just couldn't figure out what would be the point of visiting a online grocery store. But, as it started evolving, I went out on a tangent. So, yes, 9/11, I could tell you specifically that with the XP operating system that was completely different from the operating systems prior to, and that was one of the selling points, was the different user interfaces. That meant you could get on there as an administrator. You could get on there as your 8-year-old son. You could be just Dawn on there. And you could just be Patrick on there. I don't remember the total amount of them, but that was one of the keys. So it is very possible to believe that the concentrate. I don't want to say concentrated, but very like, once the plan was in motion, setting up the plan, getting the plan in place, putting the plan across different, places, getting on different planes, getting through, security with the whole ball of wax. Shoot, just learning how to fly a plane enough to crash it, I would say. The only way that you coordinate those activities and do it without being noticed was to probably be on the inside track and on a pre-release, testing the system or whatever. But if they're giving Patrick and I the computer and it's up and running in 2001 on that level, then it has to have been developed, and we started really getting a taste of the internet and this type of access and information and communication like this in 1994, 1995. But with XP, you could most definitely hide a hidden network that is under the cover of what everybody sees. Hard to trace, hard to track. Now, that's not what I want to know about it, but if since 9/11 we've had no real serious attack, we haven't really had a whole lot of hatred. I mean, if you look at it, we really have not had any real incident such as that since. But it was absolutely effective in its purpose. 9/11 was to jolt us into whatever it was. And so we didn't need a whole bunch of little ones. Just had that one big one, and then under the covers and along the outskirts of our vision has been this step-by-step manipulation, and it's all been leading to where we're at now. Because if there had been a real problem with homegrown terrorism in the United States, they wouldn't need to fabricate some story about these two so-called terrorists in San Bernardino, and then Drew and I have a whole breadcrumb trail. I mean, we can almost tell you step by step how they have set us up to be those two individuals. Not in the looks category, but in every other category. That they've not succeeded. I don't think we're as hated as they want everyone to think we are. I think that with real patriots that want to communicate the American value system with the God-fearing Christian souls who just have a passion for going around the world bringing the good news because it's in the Word to do so, I think it's just a automatic response from pretty much any just average American, that they will go out of their way to give back to their community. We usually are hardworking. We usually like to have nice looking neighborhoods and clean and orderly. We're mostly all law abiding citizens. I mean, mostly these stories you hear about anything to the contrary are the exception. That's why they make up news. You got to talk about one person out of 100,000 that does something crazy, and then we all get our panties in a bunch. No, it's the opposite. American people are decent, God-fearing, loving, common-sensical, good-natured, light-hearted people. And we like our privacy, usually because not that we're doing wicked, evil, twisted things, but just that, I don't need anybody listening to what I'm doing or watching me. Nobody likes that. If you want to do that and be a part of that, they have like voyeurism clubs and all that kind of thing. You can do it if you'd like to. But when somebody's sneaking in, when you're not looking, and doing it specifically to film or record you, and then take all that, and then take it and then redistribute it out of context, cut and paste maybe something you were talking about, pick out their keywords that they can fit into the other narrative to keep this very, I'll give them a very labor intensive. You talk about a real big, wide, grand conspiracy of evil that has taken its course over the last 45, 50 years, in full effect. That's pretty intense. you know, 9/11 hit, we really all believed it was the bad guy. It had to be the bad guy. Because nobody usually hijacked airplanes full of people, potential hostages. They usually, took the plane with hostages to a certain destination in which to use them as leverage to get either money or gun, weapons or, whatever. Nobody really had considered at that point. I mean, I guess you go back to the Japanese kamikaze fighters, but yet they just, they just drove their own, themselves. They didn't haul along, 150, hundreds of people with them. Nobody really had, had that as a concept that somebody would use the plane full of people as a weapon. But see, it's the more you think about it, the more it can be disheartening to, heaven forbid you put trust in your government or leaders, or you listen to them and they tell you this song and dance, and it be the complete opposite. I mean, I'm still hoping for the best. But I am not a stupid, as my grandma would say, I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. And for myself to obtain about 8 federal documents straight up off their rogue website, to have a trail of breadcrumbs straight up from the president, and the first lady, specifically putting shit out there like at me, insidious threats, mean-spirited, making fun videos, little innuendos on interviews. And I'm just talking here of late, right before the Super Bowl. I digress. We should go back to the... Okay, so where I left off. Today's terrorist threats are very different from those we experienced on 9/11. Today, we unfortunately know that one or two people. Drew, did we not watch the Frontline freaking PBS special on escaping ISIS?
Yeah.
It wasn't here in America, ladies and gentlemen. That was there in the Middle East. And their own kind attacking and well, first they went into the town and slaughtered all the men and boys that they didn't, there was, and kidnapped all the women and children. And they've got their own secret little task force that is going without any pats on the back, without any, big applause from the masses, but actually creating their own rescue system to go in there and help each one of these women. Sometimes they're all like a whole family. Got the grandma, got the mom, got the 3 little kids, and they're witnessing, they're all pulled together, these women, and I think it's Yazidi women, who apparently the ISIS radical terrorists consider less than, and they put all these women together in terror and fear. They call them names, treat them like dirt, and rape each and every one of them systematically. One girl, it was heartbreaking, told the story, and bless her heart, she's a freaking new American patriot too. Because as brave as she was, there was a terrorist who took a 9-year-old little girl into another room and was molesting and raping her. And she was barely 18, 19 years old, was willing to stand up and die to protect or just to stand up against what was going on and happening to that little 9-year-old girl. She'd rather die than do nothing. So I find it offensive that anyone would think here in America, 1 or 2 individuals, namely Don or Drew, with the most intense weapon we have is a Daisy BB gun that was about $50 from Walmart. And mainly, well, Drew had got it. He just to idly, kill some time. Just shooting tiny little BBs in nowhere's land. You should see the places that we were so-called testing the networks. And well, yeah, it's not a firepower weapon. And 2, when I got there and he showed it to me that he bought it, I says, it's not a bad idea, because here we are in the middle of night, off in these back roads, or who knows what could, and even if the local folk were thinking that we were outsiders and they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, you never know. We had $5,000 just in the one piece of equipment. They got that. But we got some heavy duty, high tech equipment just up. You can see the lights going, from all the computer and things. It's not hard to tell that anyway, I just thought, it's not a bad idea to, if somebody did come up to us in the middle of the night out here in the middle of nowhere, we at least had something to show, hey, don't mess with us or protect ourselves. So I, in fact, thought it was a good idea.
I barely shot it like 3 times.
I know, we barely even used it. We just kept it, and it was like, well,
My dad has the same exact one.
if anybody hinky rolls up on the scene, we could at least fake it. And never thought really much more about it. Today, unfortunately, we know that 1 or 2 people, that's why it's so, the fact that they say 1 or 2 people with an assault rifle or a Daisy BB gun or homemade bomb, like the bomb diggity weed, I don't know, jeez, the bomb diggity hip hop jam we're listening to, I don't know what else we call the bomb. Cherry bomb candies we sometimes bought. No, we didn't have any homemade bombs. Can create unimaginable havoc and throw a whole city into turmoil. Cities like New York, Boston, Washington, D.C. have been dealing with terrorist threats for quite some time. But we know that with the help of online radicalization, a terrorist attack can happen anywhere, anytime. Well, I'd like to know if they're going to clue in Google on this, or YouTube Creator Academy, for one. But if you want to talk about online radicalization, that is a total third wave of the let's scare America into giving up their freedom. I look forward to hearing from all our witnesses today about how Congress can further help communities. Oh, communities. That's, if you go on to Google Plus, or what was Google Plus, or now it's Plus Google, or whatever side of the channel you're on, I can't get to Google Plus anymore. I only have Plus Google now. But there is you have your circles, you have your communities, is the big, that word, communities, and I would say most of my hate stream and all the, now is, you peel a layer back, you see whatever video I originally maybe have shared or posted, or one that I got down my channel and then liked or made a comment to is totally different. That's why I bring up Matt Damon's video. But I'm only a member of 6 YouTube communities, and all 6 of them are totally not what they appeared at one point. So we can further help communities with both large and small be better prepared for the type of terrorist attacks we are witnessing today, such as active shooter events. I would also like to hear about what else we could be doing to stop homegrown extremism, something that I know all of our witnesses are familiar with. Last December, I introduced legislation to strengthen the Department of Homeland Security efforts to work with community leaders in identifying and preventing potential homegrown terrorist threats. Guys, wait till I will turn over my entire Dawn M. Day, Google everything, YouTube everything, all of it, from the beginning. Both of them, though, I want both of them. The one that they have systematically locked me out of, and the one now that the only one the one they let me have back, to it's like every other day I get more and more discernment and revelation that the reason that I have this Dawn M with the period day Google and have no way to get to the original Dawn M day with no period, the one, the Happy Fun Ball one that has everything in it. I only had 2 email addresses. I had daybreakcreations@yahoo.com, and that's all been hacked into and manipulated. I don't even recognize it anymore. I only had 2. I had Yahoo and I had Daybreak Creations 2 at Gmail. That was it. I got that stupid Apple smartphone and used some apps in conjunction, signed up for Twitter, and all hell broke loose in my life. It's funny that I have no access to the one account that I've had second longest than my original Yahoo email that I've had since 1994. So if anybody wants to question my credibility, how can you? How can anybody question my credibility when the one email account that I've had my whole adult life since the beginning of the internet in the first place would be tied into 2 Gmail accounts, one that I had to take as well, it's better than nothing, I guess. But I guarantee you, if you take both of them, I have CC'd, copied, went back and forth, every single picture. I've got pictures of me that's in that one. I have I have it all interconnected. I have plenty of people that have been listening, stealing, swiping, filtering, not to mention that most every person that I'm friends with on Facebook is somebody that I know in my real personal life that has met me in person. So there is no real impeachable testimony against me. There's no way. I'm rock solid. I'm so rock solid that I can see right through all this, and I can see the timing of it all to know that they got apparently very desperate. I'm on record from 2012 having an odd feeling that people were listening to my ideas. Somebody was listening in. Okay. So please do. I'll go back again. Look at your own Google page. If you haven't made a Google page, go make one and check out the communities. See what you think. Check out the ones I'm associated with on both my channels. Okay, it is my hope that we can move this legislation soon. Well, I always got to rush, so that the department is better equipped to counter the hateful messages put out by ISIS. Well, when they filter and circumvent your message from ever reaching its destination and then change it en route and then hide that from you. Glory be to God. The only reason that I'm here today, right now, to even share this personal perspective is because I was smart enough to stay one step ahead. Again, I would like to thank all of our witnesses for being with us today and for their willingness to share lessons learned on how we can make our country a safer place for all. I wish I could have been called as a witness. That's funny, especially if I'm the one tied into all this mess, especially with Hillary and her email problem, with Obama and his sellout to every single enemy of the United States. I can't get over how many trips and meetings he has with every single leader, so-called, that is so far removed from American way of life. So this moves into the next phase of one. Drew, did I not say from the get-go, before, just when we were kind of first starting out in our road trip across Kansas, and we started looking and having problems with the Garmin map and discrepancies here, discrepancies there, and me with, what I was doing. Did I have the epiphany one day out of the blue? It's like, hey, wait a minute. I don't think our border problems with Mexico, that I was starting to think Canada.
Oh yeah, that's right. They they showed themselves.
Take a road trip to Kansas. You'll see for yourself. Okay, so I've been on this theory for, my goodness, at least since we first started going to Kansas. So this would be for, Thanksgiving. This is dated February 3rd of 2016. Statement of Ranking Member Tom Carper. Canada's fast-track refugee plan. Unanswered questions and implications for United States national security. Dated Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016. As prepared for delivery. In November, right online, we went to Kansas. I mean, like the major road trips, but we stopped going to sites in Missouri as much as we kept going to sites in Kansas. In November, this committee held a hearing on our country's ability to screen Syrian refugees. At the time, there was a great unease over the Syrian refugee population and the security risks some believe they may pose. We learned a lot at that hearing. We learned that the screening for refugees takes place wholly overseas before the refugee ever sets foot on U.S. soil. Well, okay. Red flag. We learned that the United Nations. Oh, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. High Commission on Refugees winnows down the list of potential refugees long before the United States ever considers a single application. We learned that once we receive a list of pre-screened refugees from the United Nations, the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security still conduct their own extensive vetting. This vetting includes biometric and biographic checks, health checks, and in-person interviews conducted by immigration analysts trained to spot fraud. We also learned that refugees are consistently vetted against the full repository of U.S. national security databases. That's funny. Probably the majority of the United States database consisted of the American people, right? I'm sure they got the best database on the people that they can track and monitor, and I was telling it, you could have any serious database on the Syrian refugee. Like, who's keeping records over there?
They shouldn't have to compare against.
And if somebody is keeping the records, wouldn't you think that's the first place that gets blown up? This is the gotten vetting process. This is a big sham. The only freaking databases and the only thing they're keeping their little freaking eyeballs on is us, the patriots, who are going, this is wrong. This is dangerous. And we learn that our program focuses on the most vulnerable refugees, mostly children and families. Oh, that starts tugging at the heartstrings. It is no wonder that the security experts who testified before our committee said the refugee resettlement program is probably the last way a potential terrorist would try to come into our country. That's like when Justice Scalia all of a sudden died. They're like, oh, no. There's no foul play here. It's nothing to see. Go about your business. That's like in the Song of the South when Brer Rabbit's like, oh, no, don't throw me in that briar patch. Today we will learn more about the Canadian refugee program. From what I can tell, it is a lot like ours. Like us, Canada carefully screens potential candidates while they're overseas. Just wait when we start digging into Canada. My fellow Americans, I'm sorry, it hurts me to say it, but I have no trust in Canada. I think they are not an ally. They are not a good friend and neighbor. I would trust Mexico and our southern nations and our neighbors to the south way before I'd ever trust what's going on in the north. They also run their own security checks. Indeed, those checks include systematic consultation with the United States. Oh, okay, just back to us. So we're not getting anywhere. Oh, Canada. Oh, we're thoroughly vetting these refugees, United States, because we checked your books. Okay, those checks include systematic consultation with the United States and vetting against our terrorism and national security databases under information sharing agreements that we have in place with Canada. But, if our databases are vulnerable, just as Barack Obama stated that he needed another $19 billion because of cyber security breaches straight up on their networks that are supposed to be highly, I could see them hacking it little Don Day. But when President Obama is like, I need another $19 billion to deal with cyber security and hacking, then, I don't know if we should be doubling down on, Canada, you're using our database to vet, Canada, we're using your vetting process to double check that, and when it comes right down to it, we're still using the same database that is based on pretty much the American population, because I don't know where else the United States is getting databases from that would be all about our enemies. And I don't think that our enemies are just going to be like, oh, here's a database. Or if they did, that they're giving you an accurate one.
Makes sense.
Okay. It's true that Canada is doing the screening faster than usual. Oh, of course. That's like Obamacare, when it was like, 18 million pages that nobody read.
TLDR.
So what's the big hurry? But that does not mean it's doing less than they've previously done. Well, they haven't done very much at all. The Canadian government has surged resources to speed up the time of refugee processing. Why? And states emphatically that it's not cutting corners. Oh, there's again. Oh, no foul play here. Don't throw me in that briar patch. In fact, all the members of this committee recently received a letter from the Canadian ambassador to the U.S. laying out the screening process for these refugees and the close cooperation with our own security and border agencies. I'd like to place that letter into record. Dang, I can write a bad to the bone letter too. The first group of refugees Canada is receiving is restricted to families, women, and other at-risk populations. We have read this before, so that must be the 90-plus genders that people could identify with. I don't know. I should also point out that with very few exceptions, almost no single fighting age males are being considered in this first batch of 25,000 refugees. I'm sure the feminists are real happy about that one, right? You know, no wonder they're all upset, these young men. I don't know what has pushed their buttons, but I don't like the fact either that we're just throwing, gasoline on the fire if they're feeling some of these emotional and some kind of damage so significant that they're willing to live this type of life, which is so contrary. And here you go with, on the one hand, these countries talk about tolerance and America's the big bad hate mongering, hateful bunch. When Canada, or here they are. They got to get on the boat somehow. They got to get on that stretch of land, cross the water to this part of the world. But at some point, there's a family that's got a little boy, or a teenage son, or heaven forbid, a new creature in Christ wanting to be a part of the solution. And these people talk about sexism and misogynism or misogyny and racism. And Christians be, I'm intolerant and hate mongering thing. But right off the start of it, you've got the gatekeepers who are telling all of these so-called Syrian refugee young men or boys, I don't know what that cutoff is, but I'm just telling you as a mother, it's either all of us or none of us. But no freaking politician or egghead sitting off in some closed door room having these hearings that nobody's privy to was going to determine to me or tell me that I can bring and leave behind one of my 3 children, male or female. So to me right there, we've hit crack in the facade. Moreover, nearly half of the refugees are privately sponsored. Well, when you start doing some fact checking, you can find out Canada's the hotbed for infiltration of immigrants. And it's quite possible that the private sponsoring of the so-called refugees is probably your terrorist radicalization boot camps. It's probably where they're, this is where they get in to the West and touch down. And as we read through this, very easily infiltrate into the United States from the wall or the side nobody's watching. And they can almost go all the way without even being, straight up in the open, because it's so much of an open territory through there, through the upper, part of the United States, all those big states with little population. I mean, it's straight up infiltrating. They're coming right out of the ground in Kansas, right in the heartland, and they can just infiltrate every direction. Okay. Privately sponsors, that is, families or organizations in Canada, have committed to helping them to adjust to life in that country and even pay to support them for the first year. That kind of arrangement can be very helpful in integrating new arrivals and helping safeguard against alienation or radicalization. Like our country, Canada has a long, proud history of helping refugees. In fact, some of the Southeast Asian refugees resettled in Canada in earlier decades are now stepping up to sponsor Syrian families. And that's why, day 2 after Supreme Court Justice is murdered, you have our so-called president meeting in my hometown in California, Los Angeles, California, I believe, or in the larger area, metro area, with the ASEAN, Association of Mid-Atlantic Asian somethings, and talk about hinky pictures. And what about them all lined up with that weird handshake? He's not even wearing a tie. And I thought, geez. And when he made the speech, because he got up and talked about how Donald Trump will never be president, and he was throwing he's mocking, double talking the interpretation of the Constitution as to whether or not it's political to vote no or vote yes on any justice that he would nominate, because we got to do our duty. And he's giving this speech, and there's no American flag, there's nothing. It's just a weird background with that thing, and it's like he was wearing a tie but took it off or something. And I thought, I was telling Drew, I said, you're gonna see how desperate and just oblivious and so drunk on their own, wicked, blind power and getting away with so much for so long, that they're gonna forget to put on their skin suits, right? And then so there's Obama with his shirt not buttoned, and thing. And I thought, God, that's tacky. And it's like, geez, if you're gonna show up and appease and like sniff, brown nose and sniff butts on some more of our people that really hate us deep down, and would nothing more than America to cow down and lose its place. But I see another picture or a video or something later, and they all had their shirts and ties like that. And then I'm like, gosh, he can't even just be different than a group. You can't maintain the tie and let them all take off their ties and be hive mind. The fact that I noticed, and he was giving a speech about our issues on our own land, but while he had to meet with just the whole thing. But now we know why. The minute the Supreme Court stood in his way, he had that person eliminated, and then off he goes, and Hillary in tow, because they've sold their souls, they've made these deals and didn't think that they'd ever get caught up. So now they gotta save face and freaking, they're in full-blown desperate mode. So that's why we're killing justices. That's why we're threatening average American citizens and putting the full power of law enforcement over them, um, and completely preventing them from exercising even any free speech or communication, or just complete target and character, everything. I have everything on the line. And then don't miss a beat, off to meet with the Asian enemy, off next to Cuba, notwithstanding all of, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have been working in tandem for their sick, sadistic, bloodthirsty, vampire-like, seeking of, power. I don't know what they've been promised to keep them motivated on the project, but they have children too. Barack Obama has these 2 girls, and they're ripe, for the pickings for ISIS, human slave trade. Now, Hillary, you do have a little grandbaby. I don't think you really, if you were asked Chelsea Clinton, and I speak from my own perspective with my own parents, I would think that Chelsea Clinton would have a thing or two to say about being a mother now that she's one herself. And I remember her from back in the day when they were on the national stage. And I remember thinking, I felt that I identified with her, and I used to look, and she looked awkward and a little, nervous. People, she was made fun of. Kind of like me, like the little ugly duckling, turning into swan kind of deal, but not quite into our, feminine graces, or why, just, you could tell. And I didn't feel sorry for her. I just felt like, she probably didn't have a whole lot of friends, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends either. And as time went on, I used to wonder, knowing and researching all these things about the Clintons and things, that yes, I did apply the personal perspective, because, I thought, man, it must be terrible, because is whatever the Clintons are to the rest of the world, they're still Chelsea's mom and dad. And I bet you if she had, the privacy to express her true feelings, that she would have much preferred less ambition, more just mom and dad. And probably in retrospect, once a lot of these, hidden, the hidden things start to come out into the light that probably Mr. and Mrs. Clinton will look back and will have some lament and regret that they didn't, especially after their 8 years, just exit the stage gracefully. They had plenty of legacy in which to spend time on instilling into the next generation and developing, doing anything other than what they've done. I don't know how Obamacare was anything that could see the light of day when, yes, you're absolutely right. Hillary's little healthcare thing, saying it was like, I don't know, similar, I think less complicated. It didn't have the whole internet angle, slapped onto it. But it went down like a ton of bricks because socialism will fail every time it's tried. I don't know. I guess there's been maybe a time here or two when I could have picked like the fast track, I guess, and had a little bit of, woo! And then it's over. I can't correlate in my mind banking on and selling a complete complete, there's no way ever it'll work. There's no way it'll ever work. And there's so much proof, okay, Hillary Clinton, let me be on your campaign staff. I would even sit there and say, you can beat Bernie on one issue alone. But you're going to have to balls up and be able to walk it. But Bernie, with all his socialism and his universe this and this and this, sweetheart, you've got case in point. You've got actual plan you came, under your name, all through the process, all the particulars. Yours is probably actually way better put together than Obamacare, which is this clockwork version, of madness. I don't know. Not good enough for Bernie, but I mean, you already have the Obama thing. It is failing. It's not working. It's not going. And you have him wanting to take it all a step further, and you have your own personal experience of having made that mistake in the past and having the rich first person experience and understanding that the American people will never go for it. You could have bonded all the way up and back again and gained so much ground, right? She could have. If she would have just come out and says, socialism isn't going to work. I tried it, and it was a little embarrassing because I tried to market socialism to the American people, and they straight up went, no. The only reason that it's even getting this far in this day and age is because of this. Because we have that's what I told her. Here's her second plot. I will give back my war chest and gracefully exit the stage. Because obviously, I have not taken seriously enough myself the risk presented in the virtual world, in the cyberverse, because I've totally diminished all of my credibility. I abused it. I didn't think it was that vulnerable. But the only reason that there is a fighting chance in America for socialism is most of the information that the American people are getting is completely is filled and systematically manipulated just for that reason. But if I were to right now, today, Hillary Clinton saying I'm not even going to run for president and I'm taking my war chest for the betterment of the American people to have a full unbiased look into the fact, everything, turn on everybody's, and if Dawn M. Day, who I know for a fact has been targeted and manipulated, she knows, we all know, is willing to do all that she's doing. If Donald Trump is willing to run for president on his own money, how can I say anything other? I want to devote this war chest to paying every hard, honest, working American to pitch in and get to the bottom of it. And if we determine that the whole fucking World Wide Web as we know it has to be ditched and pitched and start over, then we do that. Because even I, who have been a champion of women's rights, this and that right, I don't know if the information I got was hacked, manipulated information. I'll even give her that. What if whoever was the one that put the file on somebody's desk of the whole manipulated, hateful, Dante homegrown terrorist version? I don't know at which point, but I can guarantee you that some of it's so bad that I don't have any, I'm not surprised if I have people that hate me and are passionate about it. Because if just scratching the surface of what I do get exposed to and see under my so-called name, I would be up in arms too. It's funny. We can walk around with a tiny little book of the founding documents, but I can barely copy, paste, and print out just 1 year of the legislation and things pending on the docket for the Senate. And that's just at the Senate. Let's not, what's going on all of our state legislatures, county legislatures, city legislatures. I mean, it's enough, I think, to make anyone head spin. I mean, how can How can you maintain it? How can, no wonder we've got a police force that's like, and we've got the private citizens, fuck the law, fuck the police. And we've got the rest of the, there's no way in hell that what is going on can be actually realistically maintained. I don't know when it became the Senate's business to start renaming post offices. Or why? That has to go all the way to the Senate. I'd be like, damn, if you want your name on the building that bad, wherever floats your boat, honey. I'm more concerned about the total inconsistency on the outside of the envelopes that come to me. I mean, there ain't one single, I ain't seen a real stamp in a minute. They're few and far between. If our United States Postal Service has all these extreme inconsistencies in the moving of information and goods, you want to change the names of the post offices, right on the same timeline. And we're concerned about the radicalization of Americans. I don't know what to tell people. Except that it's all connected. Okay. All right. Finally, it is very important to point out that it would take 4 years before refugees living in Canada are potentially eligible for citizenship and the right to travel visa-free to the United States. Since when? What part of the freaking system did that get put in check? Oh, what? Guys, do you see it? All you gotta do is actually get to Canada, and in about 4 years, it's a fucking free ticket. Until then, they would need a visa to come to our country and then be subject to fresh screening against U.S. criminal intelligence databases before they can cross our borders. Well, if they're trying to get into the border and you're checking the databases from within the population in the border, they're probably not going to pop up. In short, I think we should support our ally Canada in doing the right thing in the most secure manner possible when it comes to Syrian refugees. And as we do that, let's keep our eye on the ball. Vilifying refugees coming to the United States or Canada only serves as a distraction from the real challenge of defeating ISIS on the battlefield and combating homegrown violent extremism here on our shores. Providing a safe haven for a few of the millions of people victimized by ISIS in the Syrian war will not hurt that cause. I believe it can actually help us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. I look forward to learning more from our witnesses. Now, from Chairman Johnson opening statement, Frontline Response to Terrorism in America, Tuesday, February 2nd, as submitted for the record. Good morning and welcome. Just last week, federal, state, and local authorities worked together successfully to thwart an apparent terrorist attack on Masonic, oh, not the Masons, Drew, not the Masons. Drew, have we been doing some research on the Masons?
Yeah, they came across.
Drew's not as bold as I am, but
I learned a lot more about him.
should we have a little more concern if now we've got Canada, Masons, and some silly chairman of some egghead politician writing an open remark that is turning turning the finger and shaking the head at apparent terrorist attacks coming not from our enemies, but right here within the United States of America against their plan, right? Just last week, federal, state, and local authorities worked together to successfully thwart an apparent terrorist attack on Masonic Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I bet that's all up on the same, close to the border where they're all coming through. Wait till you hear some of the witness statements. It was a reminder of the serious threats we face in the United States in 2016. The serious threats against your own American people who are just protecting and defending free speech, the right to bear arms, equal opportunity, equal rights, limited government, as expressly written in the Constitution. There are more serious threats we face, not from our enemies abroad, just straight up from American patriots. Over the past year, terrorist attacks have occurred in communities across America, including in Boston, Massachusetts, Garland, Texas, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and San Bernardino, California. A number of other attacks poised to cause mass casualties were thwarted by federal, state, and local authorities. U.S. authorities reported a high number of terrorism-related arrests last year. In fact, the most since 2001. I rest my case. What, didn't I just say just a few 20 minutes earlier or so that there's been nothing going on, that obviously this plan didn't fucking fall into place because they're so desperate that they've got to create a terrorist threat by commingling our two unique circumstances, our unique personal histories, and our bold, you've got the wherewithal, you've got the built-in degree, you've got all the things that you'd hook up, I'd take advantage or whatever. I've got all these passion and things to brainwash, But isn't it pretty pathetic? Because we've got, I know enough real reporting on the internet every way till Sunday on how bogus and fake the whole San Bernardino attack was. And the fact that there wasn't any real personal interest in the people that died. That there was no people that died.
Choreographed.
It's totally choreographed, totally hoaxed. But that's where we're at. You have the beginning of we start this. This is what to now. The American people just didn't really fucking buy it, and when it came right down to it, our so-called enemies. Maybe they did some fact checking themselves and said, you know what? I don't know. this isn't what I thought they were. The threat is real. It is growing, and it can happen anywhere. As chairman, my main focus is to help ensure the federal government is fulfilling its first responsibility. Now, here's the double wordplay on twisting the focus. Now they're going to throw the Constitution back on you. The government's fulfilling its first responsibility to keep our nation safe and to protect the American people. Well, see, you have to have something striking, something to catch a chord just enough for the American people to give up their freedom. It will require hard work and effective work by federal, state, and local authorities to identify extremists and disrupt terrorism plots before they occur. As they did in Milwaukee last week, the American people will need to do their part too. Oh yeah, become rats and snitches. This includes staying alert and reporting suspicious behavior to law enforcement authorities. Unfortunately, we are learning the very difficult and tragic lesson that we will not be able to prevent every terrorist plot in the United States, and when terrorist attacks and other horrific crimes do occur, local first responders are the first to arrive at the scene and coordinate to secure the area, clear the building, and eliminate the threat. Oh, does that mean when you show up at a private citizen's home and they answer the door, answer a question, and go to close the door, that you can put your foot through, barge through, and start socking them in the face and begin to go for your lethal weapon? That must be the part about arriving at the scene, coordinating to secure, clearing the building, and eliminating the threat. These heroes put their lives on the line each day to protect the American public from the truth. We are fortunate to have a diverse panel of state and local witnesses with us today who can speak to the local response during recent attacks. We will also hear what police, fire, and emergency service personnel in communities across America are doing to prepare for the next attack. Earlier this year, I traveled across Wisconsin on a national security listening tour. Oh, not one of Hillary's listening tours. To hear directly from local first responders and citizens. I would like to extend a special welcome to Chief Sparks, who attended one of those sessions and is bringing that message to Washington today. It is my hope that this discussion will help us draw lessons learned about what first responders in communities across the country can do to save lives after terrorist attacks. I also want to draw on the experience of our witnesses to help us understand how we can work together to better prevent terrorism. For example, how can we improve our information sharing programs and operations? Our front lines of defense, state and local authorities, need to have all the information available to stop terrorist attacks. How can we ensure better cooperation and collaboration between law enforcement agencies on terrorism investigations to prevent attacks? We can't afford silos. We can't afford not to work together. We have made progress in these areas since 2001, but to address the serious and growing threat of violent extremism in the months and years ahead, we will need to do better. I thank each of you for being willing to testify today. And more importantly, thank you for your service on behalf of the American people. Well, maybe you would have done it in public.
What's a silo?
Silo, like a it's just like, asylum, like a safe place. Chairman Johnson's opening statement, Canada's fast-track refugee plan, unanswered questions and implications for U.S. national security, Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016, as submitted for the record. Good morning and welcome. We have convened this hearing to learn more about Canada's plan to resettle 25,000 Syrian refugees by the end of February 2016. I would just like to say, if it was Canada's plan to resettle 2,000 refugees from Syria to Canada, we would be, all in the mix. But I take this statement to be that out of the good knows how many thousands, that Canada is trying to push 25,000 off the top into the United States. By the plan to resettle 25,000 refugees by the end of February 2016, and to better understand the implications of this ambitious effort for U.S. national security. Oh, from 2005? Funny. It's a crucial year in my life. From 2005 to 2014, the Canadian government, on average, resettled about 20,000 total refugees each year. How many is that, Drew?
200,000.
During its federal election last year, admitting more Syrian refugees became a campaign issue, with Justin Trudeau, now Prime Minister, pledging to admit 25,000 Syrian refugees to Canada by year's end. Despite concerns from numerous security experts and the international organizations involved in the resettlement process, Prime Minister Trudeau continues moving forward to meet this self-imposed deadline, which has now been delayed slightly to the end of the month. In November, again that November date, we examined the U.S. refugee resettlement program to understand how the United States plans to bring in an additional 10,000 Syrian refugees by the end of fiscal year 2016. I didn't think that we'd made that decision yet. At that hearing, we learned that it takes 18 to 24 months to vet each refugee, and that many are not cleared by our vetting process. We also learned that information necessary to fully vet Syrian refugees is far from complete, creating even greater concern regarding Canada's most recent plan to resettle 25,000 Syrian refugees in a much shorter time. In March and April 2015, this committee heard testimony from various security and law enforcement experts regarding the porous nature of the U.S.-Canada border. Specifically, witnesses testified that people who get into Canada most likely will be able to enter the United States. For these reasons, our hearing today seeks to understand the implications of Canada's expedited security screening as it relates to the United States' national security interests. While it is important to assist those in need of protection, we must ensure that we and our northern neighbor do not circumvent the security checks that are in place. We also must understand shortcomings in the current vetting process. At this committee's annual hearing to assess threats to the homeland, National Counterterrorism Center Director Nick Rasmussen noted that when you screen and vet against available intelligence holdings, and that the intelligence picture we have of the Syrian conflict zone is not as rich as we would like it to be. Duh! Therefore, while both the United States and Canada may have a system that ensures that all databases are reviewed during the vetting process, you can only review against the information you have. I thank all the witnesses, some of whom have traveled from Canada to shed light on this serious matter. I look forward to your testimony. That's all the opening statements on that. So here's a Dawn Day news flash. First alert. Guys, they were planning on this the whole time without anybody say. I don't think we should just, keel over and let it go down. Jeez, I wanted a little research. And they've taken 2 years just to find out that I'm not the hideous monster that they say I am. Dang it. And now for a song.
This one.
Don't touch it. Why do you leave and then come back? Well, I'm looking for something in particular. I could have queued it up. Oh, there we go. And now for a fourth dimension. Hang on.
Bringing to the light, you know how they say, Judas Priest, you were nailed to the wheel. When they crucified Jesus, they said they nailed him to the wheel. So someone was coming. It's like the wheel might were tied. To swerve into the night. If we ready to take driver ticket to see her with them, what did he say? In the car. What did he say? But you know, it's like the singer, so one driving the car. Yeah, but he was talking to you. Talking to you, or I'm talking to stuff, man. I'm talking like mythology and music. It's like who knows who that person is? You know? Well, it's just what person. You sing in eyes, right? And you sing to you, second person. You, kind of like an X-Men, right? Can you imagine that, like, all of a sudden the person that's driving now in this generation, supposedly, all of a sudden he just wakes up, but then all of a sudden he realizes nobody even cares. So wake up around. So it's like, the wheel that you were tied, and then you swerve into another. Band-Aid though, well, that was one that was big with reading that one. Woo! You know, they're always scientists, ones that turn into like weird, you know, superheroes, like the Fantastic Four and all that. Band-Aid, down in the course of Florida Swamp, this research lab, and he's doing research on this highly, intense thing. They're trying to recreate Captain America person again.
Wonder Woman.
And,
And all the
no, well, yeah, she's out there somewhere. They're always her lead. But some person, that guy's a good breach, so he injects it into himself and gets in his car and he's driving along. Of course, they don't explain how he gets in a car accident. It's injected out to the lung, it's lung, right? It's got this chemical in it. It reacts differently with all of the stuff in the water. And he doesn't change the Captain America, and he goes to do the man thing. And it's just a sorry. Roasting. No, it's just, yeah, disintegrated anything, but everything like corners, and he's all planned out, he's ever changing, it's like the instinct, and it's like, damn, what a story and a character.
What about the nuclear thing? Nuclear wrote that thing too. And I was on the whole house, the nuclear thing.
Yeah.
Remember that guy? He had like a T2 toy. Why are you Smithson.
Here's some scary ones. They all have elaborate history. First appearance, Hulk, number 41.
Or a Saturday Night Live guys, those two guys, Big and Sweet, they do that Big and Sweet Day. Well, you're just looking at it. How they like 5, they like 16 on and roll into it. It's like, what are you looking at?
Don't let the child live. Got dancing on the brain right now. The dancing. What we're gonna do next, friend? Is it so income? The last thing I heard was playing this Talk about it. Hey, see the funny highlights, and then they commentate during football games. Now it's like, jackal. It's great. It's fun. Go get 'em. I've done that all the way.
What's the 12? Something. Wow. Yeah, that's like a world. Fantastic Four.
Okay. Yeah, I had it all set up too. Hey, everybody out there on Radio Dante, don't trip. We have all kinds of information, entertainment, Jokes. Cooking tips. Oh my gosh, I saw it here this whole time and now I can't find it. Come on now. It must be because Hillary Clinton is won Nevada. Like that's anything important. There's nothing in Nevada. I guess all of the Area 51 aliens got out and voted today. Wait. No, that's not fair. Must be here then. Good Lord, somebody must have it. Okay, here we go. Punk love song. Attention, we have a problem. There is a lot of wrong needing resolving. Where should I start? I'm so full of resentments and anger darts. Don't they know? Me and the One Woman Riot are now in control of the show. That means we will drive a point endlessly, no matter how hard the road home. That can turn drastic, outcome tragic. It's true, ask any past victim. You'll get a hell yes, Mayday, Gandhi, SOS, come please, save our ass. In a flash, I'm on the job. Devoted wordsmith, give me a sec. Quick rewrite about toxic love. Look at what it does to us. It kills our spirit, reliving to infinity the same old pointless stories. Where is this going? Our loved ones stuck suffering. The ones most hurting, the butts of just kiddings and bad jokes, lacking timing, punchline, or clever anecdotes. A cutthroat world wearing a tarnished chain, a poor imitation. We all pretend. Go on now, nothing to see, no missing link, no deeper meaning beyond the laugh track coming from the TV. Belly up to the bar, thinking about little love in a big overcoat. Fear with beer soon disappears. Clink of glasses, cheers. They sing, drink up, nothing matters. Chime the dead souls lurking in seedy watering holes, on the hunt for cunt, no love, all cheap, dirty lust. Ladies, watch your luck. Don't count on late luck to show up after dusk. This can't be right. By our phones and Facebook page, peel away the actual colors we portray when we are not vulnerable to total and complete rejection and lies untrue. Oh shit, is this happening? Get a rope. Hope and faith just went flat broke. Better get a piggy bank. Dang.
What's up? It's yours truly. Gandhi. That's right, Professor White Girl that won't stay quiet. Love me or hate me. It's okay, me. Doesn't faze me. That you at some point will do anything. Really, don't find it busy. Long, try to afford you quiet. Y'all want to talk about on Radio Gandhi. I want to make sure I have clearly stated my case. Yes, I'm an American white girl from Southern California. My past is checkered, full of mistakes. And I'm extremely flawed, but my faith in God is strong. A new creature in Christ with, at last, a real purpose for my life. I want to be a leader, but not for the power, for the glory. I am a new patriot. I believe in this country to do great things on this earth, a force for good, the world's last best hope for freedom and the pursuit of happiness. I've been waiting my whole life for this. I know I am a leader. I want to lead this grand republic into a rebirth of American exceptionalism, optimism, and pride. We face many dire challenges, but just as the generations before, we Americans are by nature willing and able to meet, embrace, and overcome them without falter. Right now, the world needs us. The enemy has clearly defined itself and its desire to destroy us, our allies, and our way of life. The time is now. It's do or die. I don't mind a good fight. Come on now, you know I'm right.
Feel free.
they have no choice. To them it's all a while, to them it's all denial, killing them instead of love. They run terrified, never get never satisfied. They run terrified. Dragons land about nothing else they can. Open the image, sacrifices. With these shed their fight. When it takes the ultimate pride, they run terrified. That's what makes my picture. Find that very thing. The dragon smiling. Nothing else worth dying for. Dragon Slayer. The dragon laughs and tells the children to come. He tells them it matters right for some. Only they walk into the fire. And for a second they go higher. And again they fall so long. Yeah, so fine, so win, and so much time. Go on, darling, don't be reckless, take it on, wherever you're standing.
What?
The one that was brought back.
That's what you said. Somebody do that, Don.
Yours truly, Dawn Day. That's right, the feisty white girl won't stay quiet. Love me or hate me, it's okay me, doesn't faze me. That she wears some point with my man. Really, no point in crazy. People, try it before you buy it. Got lots to talk about on Radio Dawn Day. Hi! So good.
Searching for explanation in a cutthroat world. Marvel to live, and in the cutthroat world, life change got the missing link. Oh. Don't ever do that. You got, I know, but you gotta fucking, you got, yeah. It's a cutthroat world, baby. Is that it? I breathe. Fix the leaves and the trees. That's the cutthroat world, my friends. I'd say we're gonna cut out for a minute, gather some thoughts. I'm sure you have enough to think about. Shoot. Let's go research USA.gov. I would contact every single member of our Congress. All you gotta tweet, just tweet the president. He goes by like at Barack Obama, or the code one is POTUS, FLOTUS, and SCOTUS. Okay, contact them and ask them about this hidden little agenda of infiltration of 10,000 Syrian refugees. And the clock is ticking because it's what, February 20th? So I know I'm not crazy. I am going to, whatever it takes, through this broken, hexed and hacked, I've only got like what, 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes I have 5 computers at one time, and none of them work. None of them are compatible, none of them flow, but the word on the street is the new American patriots are taking the power back. And it's for the best. And if you're mad at me now, you're going to thank me later. So I'm going to end on this. This is from December 31st of 2013. So if I got on the case full effect on October 23rd, then, I've been about 2 months. And I wouldn't say I was on the savvy side of hackers. I was just able to keep digging within the darkness and scared to death at everything I found. Dear Facebook land, after about 2 months of observation from the cheap seats, I have reached a very painful conclusion. Love and hate, friendship and betrayal. Well, what began as purely research for a novel evolved into something very tangible, personal, and enlightening for me. Unfortunately, I must accept the sacrifice that always accompanies wisdom and knowledge. While I much rather would have spent this holiday on more productive tasks, I could not shake that gut feeling and instead remained on point. I hoped that I would conclude that I was reading too much into coincidence, paranoid even. I am not afraid to be wrong if being right is so much worse. So as 2013 draws to a close, I hope the smoking gun will prove me wrong. A girl can dream, even when it seems slim to none. Should you, the reader, find this post odd and cryptic, it is as I have intended. To those that find meaning to these words, I hope there was at least some point or reason. I have one last card I have not played. I hope to save my Facebook page. Stay tuned. Maybe there will be at last good news, and all the chips will fall magically in place. And indeed, should that happen, I will explain. If not, then this is my last post under Dawn M. Day, as my page is no longer under my control, and it is as not as it appears, and therefore cannot be trusted. Wish me luck. Pray I post a comment before midnight that I've been channeling Sherlock Holmes a tad too close to the heart and mind. Always an X-Man, looking for the phoenix to rise again. All my best, yours truly, the original One Woman Riot.